Great. Hi, everyone. Hope you're doing well today. So for today's session, we have Mohamad with us. He is currently in Turkey and is going to be giving us a session on art direction. Mohamad has worked with a ton of different game studios locally and internationally, and I'll leave the floor to him. So Mohamad, all yours.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. This is Mohamad Karem, an art director and senior artist for multiple years for now. Um, Today, I want to talk about what is the role of art director and how you can learn from doing much better art for your game. Hopefully, we can help some people improve their art visuals and game, etc. And if you interested in this role, I will put some pointers on my background and personal thoughts on this job in general. Today, there's a file I prepared for you guys. I want to share. I will share my screen if possible. All right, let's go. So the role of art direction is different from a company to company or studio to studio. There's always different studios and different culture inside the studios themselves. I will talk about my journey in this role and how I came about it, and the approach I personally developed through these years working in this role, and a couple of pointers that we can address and see if it will help us in the long run. So the game art direction is they have certain things that they have to do inside their team. So number one is vision and conceptualization. This is related severely by the art direction of the art director themselves. So if you working as an art director, you usually work with the management team of the studio, and they usually have game designer that they prepare the pitch for a new game idea, and the only one from the art team, maybe you can see this pitch and see the information related to the new game that you want to work on. So your role in this will be to visualize the arts of that game and how it will look, and maybe how it will play, and the feedback from the visuals, how can you see them through that. Of course, this will help you a lot taking decisions later on while you're actually developing the art for that game. And second thing that you can do with the art direction role is art style definition. So when you know when you know which genre or what game that you're gonna work on, next game that you're gonna work on, you need to develop the art direction and define the key things that you want to see inside your game. The amount of details maybe, or the art visuals or inspiration that you want to get your game to be looked at. I want to show you a couple of things later on. There's a lot of references I want to show you, but usually, like, cut this short. Usually, the art style of that game need to be gathered by references, right? So this here, concept art and reference materials. This is the step that you, after you can you visualize the art and you can gather your ideas about what game genres and what the visual of your game will look like. Here you can start the actual gathering of references of different games that you maybe will influence your decisions on art direction, or you can like bring some illustrations that you find really appealing and it fits your game good, and maybe you gather some color palettes or characters that you like, or maybe UI elements, anything related to the game that will help. You can start gathering these references and maybe use tools or somewhat to organize them and put them in different categories. Like if you want to gather references for the environment, you start doing that. And if you want to do references for the character designs, you can do that. Of course, this is the planning stage and gathering references. One thing that I will recommend: don't overdo it. It will complicate the art style, and it will be a huge waste of time and later on. So the less images that you have, of course, so little images, it will inflict it badly, and so much images will inflict it badly. You need to balance it very well. You need to gather reference images that fit well together, and you can then go to the next step. Usually, the art director who is responsible for the quality of the art game that started to be developed by the artist in his team, and the role of art direction usually be somewhat knowledgeable about different team member skills, and the one who can assign some tasks to the team members depending on their skills and what they're excellent at. So if you have an illustrator is amazing with concept art, you can assign the concept art illustrations or background illustrations to this guy. And if you have an amazing animator, you can give him the animation task. And you can divide these tasks to be done in the certain time, certain time that you constraint in to finish the game art in, depending on your team skills. So communicating with your team is essential in this step. Alliteration and feedback. Here, when you start doing the art style of your game and start developing with your team the art style of your game, you can go through the feedback of developers and team members to see what their feedback on the game art itself, and maybe playtesting the game with outside people, so that they give you good feedback, like if this is readable or not, if this is give you the certain feeling that you want in your game. If you use some colors, is that actually visible or not? Is it overcrowded with the environment? Is it over detailed or not? Maybe it's like a plane. There's not a lot of details in the environment. You want to add it more. Is it immersive or not? These things, this feedback come after the playtesting and after the small amount of like in the overall development process. If you like after a month or so in development, you don't want to do the feedback phases in the later when you want to finish the game. No, you need as early as you started almost. This is why playtesting any game is essential to game developers. One of them because you want the feedback from art perspective of that game. Of course, adoption and technical constraints. Here, as well as knowing your team members' skills, our team members' skills, you need to know what is the technical constraints you have on your dev team. So if they have certain tools they want to use or certain technologies that got developed for your own game, you need to know them, and you are the responsible one to understand them and building the art using these technologies. For example, if you're using certain type of engine, you want to develop the art using that engine and be compatible with that engine, not to overdo it or exceed the expectation or the technology that you have. It will be a headache to work with later on, or maybe in the finished product it would be a lot of bugs that related to the art itself. So the more you be able to understand the technical constraints that you have on your dev team or your technology itself, the better art you can develop to your game. Of course, in my opinion, the technical constraints is not an issue for a good art director. Is actually a good challenge for the whole team, our team, because it will improve your what's called artistic creativity. So you want to, when you have a challenge, you can create more creative solution, and in the long run, it will give you much better, unique look to your game than just if you have limitless technology. It will be playing game that no one interested in. Playtesting and user experience. Here is another playtesting, but is not for the art itself. Here is a playtesting for the user experience. So the user experience usually related to everything inside the game that the user will experience, similar to the gameplay or the UI itself, maybe the readability of certain objectives of the game, the UI readability as well. Everything related to the experience itself that the player will have when the final product will be finished. Here, there's a playtesting session for that. Of course, this play session will give you a lot of feedback. Some of them will be related to the art team themselves, similar to if you have UI issues, if you have contrast issues, if you have readability issues with the environment or anything else. Here, it will be much like spot on. It will show a lot here, let's say. Of course, leadership and conceptualization. This is a thing that most art directors never talked about. This is how you can lead your team, and personally, I found it is the easiest and the hardest thing you can do in the same time. It's the easiest if you think about your team members on like a human level, and you think about them as humans. You have to be thoughtful and careful talking to them. Every artist in this industry have their own ego, and they have their own personal issues, or maybe going through something. You need to, when you're working with them, you need to understand that, and you can always be like thoughtful when you're speaking to them. Of course, as an art director, you will always have some critique or some direction that you want to give to your team, and maybe you will change their own vision on the game. to fit the overall game vision. But like knowing how to speak to them and you can get them on board on your vision is a difficult task. But if you give them, like in the whole process, if you give them the same space, or good space to give them their own creativity, but you just give them guidance, where is the direction, not give them the actual location of the what you want, you will see the result much better doing their own creative things inside your own vision. Of course, here it's a big topic. I want to like a whole session talking about leadership of art director. There's actually multiple things I want to talk about it, but maybe we'll do this after we finish everything. Of course, as an art director, you need to be industry trained and innovation. Invitation. So this is related to, as an art director, you need to always be looking for inward and outward to see what is the trending art right now, what is the visual appealing that all people or players that actually desire nowadays. And this is constantly changing, and you need to be on top of that. You need to play a lot of games, test a lot of games, play multiple genres, not the only genres that you like as an art director, but you need to play even the game that you don't like, maybe the boring game, maybe the easiest game, the hardest game, every game that you can see people actually attracted to, you need to play them. And actually, I will give you more advice on this. Please play every game that you can play in your free time, even the weird ones, because the weird ones will have an amazing idea or creative thing or thought put into it. You will get inspired by, or maybe when you have an issue with technical team and maybe there's a feature you want to develop, this feature easily will be done if you play a lot of games. You will be inspired immediately to, yeah, I played this, or I seen this in somewhere else done correctly, and I can inspired by it and see what I can do inside my own game. But if you don't play a lot of games, you will be stuck and you will beat your head against the wall, not knowing what you got to do to finish this thing. All right.
Mohamad, before we move forward with this, we have a few questions in the chat, if that's okay.
Yeah, I cannot see the chat for some reason. Yeah, of course.
Okay, طيب, if you'd like, then I'll just interrupt you and tell you what the questions are.
Okay, I just found the chat button. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So we have questions. I'll tell you. Actually, if you can see the questions, then can you just please read them and answer them? They start at 6:46 p.m. Almost.
Okay, playtesting is my favorite part and the worst part. Okay, I agree. It's the best part because this is the first time you give people your game, and your game is your baby. Don't want to everyone to put like his finger on it, but eventually maybe they will give you a good comment like, this is an amazing game. That's the good thing about it. But the worst part is maybe they will give you a bad opinion on your game, and you will like hate yourself. Okay, what tools do you like to use? Okay, this is actually in this lecture later on. I already planned to talk about the tools that I use usually. What kind of challenges can stand in your way? Okay, there's a lot of challenges for art director, but mostly your own thoughts. This is the hardest challenge. for at least for me, of course, and your own leadership. As I said, like a couple of minutes ago, leadership is hard because every artist have his own ego. So the difficult part is knowing where your ego as an art director playing part in your decision. If you know and understand that thing, you will like eventually know how to mitigate or stop doing that, right? And start listening to other people. Maybe they will influence you as an art director. Of course, the good art director will not put himself in this like position, but honestly, everyone have an ego. Even a small part of it will be detrimental for your game. And if you understand where your ego will pop up and you start like dealing with it, it will help you on the long run. This is one of the challenges I personally face. What does the hierarchy of an art team looks like? Okay, the division of tasks and such. Okay, so the hierarchy, like personally, I only been in a small to a mid-sized studios. I'm talking about like the smallest team I work with is just like 10 people. The biggest team I work with is like 70, 60 people. And usually, as an art director, for a small studio, like a 10 team, there only gonna be 1 or 2, 3 people doing the art in that team. If you the only artist on the small size team, you are the art director, of course, because you are the only one doing the art and you decision on what art and the look like of your game would be. But art direction role is not just doing art or knowing how to do art, but is how to lead your team members. So if you are the only artist in the team, you are somewhat of an art director, but you are not an actual art director because you don't have team members that you working with currently. If you have multiple team members that you can give them guidance on the art vision or the art style of certain things you're going to do, then you are an art director and you are responsible for doing that. Of course, art director on mid-size studios have different hierarchy from a big studio. Mid-size studios, as far as I can tell, there's no lead artist. There's only an art director and artists underneath him, like in hierarchy talking. So mid-size studios, they have art director and only artists working with him. These artists can be in different fields, of course. They're like illustrator or concept art or maybe background illustration or environment artist, anything related to the game or needed inside the game. Maybe UI artist is just immediately connected to art director. But in big studios, art director is much bigger role. They will have the people underneath him they are the leads. The leads are related to the senior artists and senior artists working with smaller artists or like mid artists or maybe beginners. Of course, the leads are the biggest or the most talented artists in the team. Mostly, even some of them exceed the art director themselves. Of course, a good art director will only hire the people in certain, let's say, fields much better than himself, because I don't want only to hire people what's called knowing less than me, because I want to hire people that complete me in my field or in my department, let's say. If I responsible to do game art as an art director, I want, like for example, for me, I'm really good at 2D art. I'm not excellent at 3D art. I can do 3D art, but I'm not excellent model. So if I want to do character design in 3D, I will be hiring 3D artists specialized in character design, and he will do much better the job than me. If I want to do animation in my game, and I want to bring some animators or rigging specialists to the team, I want to hire specialists to do this job very well. And of course, I will hire like experts on this field, and maybe like they will, not maybe, of course, they will do much better job than me. I hope I answered your question. Okay, to what extent do current trends affect the artist's choice and mix? Okay, so personally, what I think, when you have decision to make a certain game, you want to look into how much I want my game to age well. So if I want my game to age very, very well, I want to make abstract, amazing art, not related to certain trends, okay? But if my game is just a small, bite-sized, experimental, just like a fun party or hyper casual, let's say, this is the trend right now. So if I'm building a hyper casual game for mobile devices, I want to see the other trends, what the visuals of the bigger competitors out there, and see what the color palette they use, or what shapes or UI like styles they use. Everything related to the game genre that the hyper casual genre tends to have, I want to check them all and experiment with what if I make my own style influenced by that. Maybe I can use colorful, helpful colors that it will affect my game. This, of course, will affect your overall vision of your game. But if you want to get out of this trend, you can always do that. It's not necessarily 100%, but it's necessary to know which is the best practices, and compare where the profit is. Of course, you want to make money using your game, and you want to understand the market itself. So if you find like abstract game that doesn't look very well, you immediately know this game is never sell well. It will never sell well. Good art for a game, it immediately give you an a choice that you understand. Sorry, not a choice. Like it will give you immediate thought that this game is making money, because the visual looks expensive, the art looks very well done, and if they ask you to pay for a monthly subscription, maybe you have better decision doing that here than the other game. Of course, this is all related to different things, not only art, but art is one of it. Of course, there's gameplay. Of course, there's actual bug-free development or programming of that game. There's multiple things to relate to that, but it's one of them is the art itself. Imposter syndrome. Yeah, it's sorry, this is me, dude. Imposter syndrome is related to everyone in the art industry. You always critique yourself, and you always not see yourself as fit or as talented as the other people see you. Of course, this is related to how you see yourself. Sometimes I critique myself very regularly, that is like implodes my imposter syndrome. But knowing how to deal with that and knowing this, actually like giving it a name, you'll understand more how to behave around it and maybe contain it to a point. Art block is sucks too. Yes, I agree. That makes sense. Okay, really cool try. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you. Okay. I think that the questions are done for now. Let's continue and see a couple of things. Here I have actually a job offer for an art director. I want to read it with you guys and see if we can like have an idea of what is expected from you, what you want to do, and what the company actually looking for inside this role as an art director. Okay, let's start. So this is here, of course, I removed the company name and removed every detail, but the necessary information is here. So what you will do, develop and the visual art, the visual styles, design, and overall look of our game. Okay, understandable. Be reasonable for creation the engaging game character assets and environment. Of course, if you are developing the overall look of the game, you are responsible to create engaging characters, assets, and environment. Of course, define visual and art standards. Sorry, visual and art standards systems. Ensure all creative materials is constant and support the creative and game direction. So yeah, so as we talked here, with adopted and technical constraints, here is the point. The art standards and system ensure all creative materials is constant and support the creative and game direction. So you want to make sure everything that you are doing inside the art department is constant and related to the technical constraints that you have on your game system. Take responsibility for all visual authentics or of our game, including concept art, character design, models, environment, character UI, cinematics, etc. So, as I mentioned before, you are related to everything art related in your studio. Maybe not everything, but everything related to this game. Because as you all want to know, you are not responsible for social media or like social graphics that the game that they will use. You are only responsible for game assets. Of course, some artists do that as an artist, not as an art director. Maybe if there's two departments, like the marketing department and art direction department for the game, maybe they will communicate together. They give them notes, they give them ideas, color palettes. They will communicate together to make it constant, but it's not their job to do it. It's the marketing team that is responsible to do that. Collaborate with production leads when establishing the look, feel, design, color, and mood of our game. So yeah, production lead, actually the company heads that lead you and leads the development. This is the production. You are one part of the production team. So you need to collaborate with the production team to ensure everything's work well. Be accountable to market. Oh, sorry. Yes, be accountable for marketing and publishing art contents created by ad creative teams. So this is actually not related to art direction. This is an extra thing that they want you to be responsible of. All right. So this is one of the tasks that is not related to art directors usually, and this is an extra step that they want you to do here. So let's go to next point. Investigate new art technology, which can aid in our efforts to create most beautiful game possible. So this is actually good thing because art director usually they always play different games. They always improve themselves. They always look forward to another artist, maybe search for people to join their team. Maybe they experiment with different technology, different game engines. They will improve their own skills or try to improve their own team members' skills. So this is a good thing that they want you to do. Grow and manage team of 2D artists, 3D artists, animators, visual effects, and tech artists. Of course, this is like just a minute we said grow and manage your team. A good art director is a good manager as well. So if you're a good artist, if you're good art director, you will know how to deal with your team members and you manage their own issues and maybe guide them, and you have inspiration for them to motivate them to do the job well done in the end. Actively conduct art reviews, manage the appeal of sign-off process of art assess. Okay, so actively conduct art reviews. So if you team members somewhat have an issue with art, you can review them and give them guidance. So this is part of the art director as well. Manage the appeal of manage the approve and sign off process. So the approve and sign off is like hiring people and firing people as well. So or sign off is much less troublesome. So this is part of your job. You search for people to hire, and if it's not working well, you can sign them off. This is part of your job as well. Some studios have this part handled by the HR, so they only communicate with you. Is he doing well or not? You can agree if he's doing well. You can say like, this dude is amazing, or if you have issues with that dude and he's not doing very well in your team, you can tell the HR like. I don't think he's a good fit to our team, and they will like handle everything that is not up to you to take negotiation, the sign off a deal or anything. They will be handled by them, not you. There's a different like approach for this in different team members, but here is as they want, you will be the responsible one for that. Okay, so what they are actually looking for an artist, like what skills you will have, what is the technical things that you will have to do inside the studio. So here they want to at least have 3+ years working experience as an art director of a AAA or a live mobile game. This is actually weird for me. Once I read it, I laughed. Art director for AAA or live mobile game. So this can be from anything like AAA at Ubisoft or to a small studio that have a live game on the mobile. So it's a weird question or weird requirement. So experience managed team of 2D artists, 3D artists, animator, etc. This can be done. Ability to grow and mentor art leads. So art leads, as I mentioned before, when big studios ask you to be an art director, actually you be responsible on a couple of art leads the artist is responsible for a couple of artists. So you're not communicating directly to the artist, you're communicating to art leads. So here they're asking you to be communicating with art leads and grow or mentor the art leads to grow. So in the role itself, there will be an art lead that responsible for the artist, and you will be managing the art leads themselves. Experience working with highly distributable development and support teams. Collaborate in industrial, create concept sketches and final renders. Okay. So here is like make a sketch or final renders to conceptualize the I think the game. Strong 2D or 3D art skills desired, of course. If you want to lead a team, you as an like lead team of artists, you need to be an artist as well, and good one of that. Expertise with the Adobe Photoshop, of course, English language skills and comprehensions. Okay. Appreciation and understanding of user interface design, of course. Knowledge of Unreal Engine development platform, of course. Opens to both internal and external feedback. So this is actually one of the things that I said. Like one of the difficulties that every artist will face is have their own work critiqued. Some artists can't deal with that. If you're doing really well in the industry, you need to understand this is just a part of your job, daily job. You will get critique constantly, and you need to be improved constantly. The feedback itself is not critique on your personally, it's critique on the job itself. So this is actually a good thing they mentioned this because if someone goes to the job not knowing that they're affected in a bad way, they think the environment is toxic, but it's not actually. It's just a work environment. Normally, every task need to be critiqued so we can achieve the highest quality possible. So yeah, going through that, we understand the art direction role in general and what is responsible of the art director. Any question related to that?
I think it's pretty clear, but there was just this one question about, as a 2D artist, how would you manage a 3D artist?
As a 2D artist, how would you manage a 3D artist? Okay, so the 3D artist, I would not, if I have a job, for example, again, with the 3D environment, of course, I will need to know a little bit of 3D to understand how to communicate with the 3D artist, but I will at least sit down with him, give him my vision, the art style, maybe gather some references, show it to him, sit down with him, let him explain or give me notes on what it's possible to do in 3D art, that we can achieve this vision. This is something actually with good management you can do easily, because I usually, when I manage a team, I always be like their friend and they confidant, let's say. I will sit down with them, speak about my weaknesses and my what I'm good at and what I'm worse at, and at the same time I will understand them much better, knowing what they are weakness and what the challenges that you have in their skills. And working with that, we can come up with the best solution that fit our whole game to achieve the best quality or best visual appealing of the art that we're gonna do. It's not like I'm not just as a 2D artist trying to guide a 3D artist. No, it's just like how we can communicate together to direct the whole vision of the game to a better place, working together. I hope this will answer your question. Okay. So there's a couple of things that I think is visually can explain. Yeah, thank you too. It's okay. There's a couple of references or images I gathered that can actually explain visually what art direction usually do. I want to go through them, and maybe then by 8 will be done. Okay, so here you can see an image of a concept for a game. It started by like sitting down with company leads and sit down together, or production team, and sit down, start sketching. First like typing what the game genre, what's the game, maybe sketch on a paper or on tablet or on your graphic tablet or anything. The idea, maybe visualizing how it's gonna work. Like here you can see an example of a game that is just a sketch for it. And later on, once you start like developing the game, like you can see here is the full version of that game that you sketched it out. So this is part of the art director when he's like visualizing, sitting down with the management, like sketch some ideas, show it to them immediately on the spot. Like it's part of your job. It's one of the things that you're gonna do usually, and you can explain like this will be moving like this and that. And this process can be back and forth with the development team as well. Like when you're sitting down with them and speaking about that, like the development team say, okay, this is possible, this is not possible, we're gonna do that, and you're gonna do this. And communicating with them, you will get this version, like this sketch is a final sketch, you will get this version on the end of your like meeting. And from that, you can convert it to actual graphics for the game. Of course, this graphics is not provided by me. This is just example materials that I gathered from the internet. One of the things that related to art direction as well is shapes and silhouettes. This is actually a good examples that I usually see good games do well, but not all games do well, is actual silhouette of your characters and your characters or the players that they play with. The silhouette is the shape of like black and white, and you can, if you can define from a black and white image the shape of that object, and you can be recognizable what is that, and you can identify what is the direction of that character or that thing, define the direction or the size of the how much heavy or the movement, like speed, everything related to that. If you can define it by just a black and white image, then you would be like doing very well. This is the part of your job. So for example here, Team Fortress, if I just showed you the image below, and first of all, you immediately know which character is it. So if I show you this one here, you will immediately understand this is heavy, and you can know because he's a big guy and he's full of muscle, he's carrying somewhat of a, like the position of his arm because it's angled. You understand he's carrying something really heavy, because when you carry something really heavy, you put your arms to the side. This is without knowing what type of game that it is. If you know that, you will understand the speed of it. You will understand he's facing the camera. So there's a lot of information just from black and white image. it can convey. If you've done this very well and you get this result, your game would be recognizable immediately, and the players will love it. So using shape languages is crucial for art director as well. So this here is different shapes that usually the art director focus on to guide their team to do. If you have مثلا, a big guy is a tanky guy, you need to use big circles. If you have an evil or somewhat of like a mean guy, you use triangles or sharp corners. If you have a very fast guy, you use zigzag shape. So the shape, this is shape language for character design. You can see for you search for it, you can see each shape, how it can present the feeling or the character itself that you want to do. You cannot do an evil character with for example, with the cube or with the circle. It will look evil, but it's cute. If you want to do that, it's okay. But if you want to make it actual evil, you want to use like corners and like very hard corners and use triangles and etc. So you want to make it very sharp, very mean guy. Of course, same thing goes to organic shapes. Like here you can see the shape of a rock. Here is much better example. Organic shapes actually flow. It's not just like straight lines. So when you use the shape of a rock, if you want that rock to look like smooth and very friendly, you can use it as like curved corners. But if you want to make it evil or maybe dangerous, you can use corners to do like spiky rock to give you immediately the feeling of this is a dangerous rock. Don't touch it, it will die immediately. Yeah. One of the things that related to art director as well is the flow of your game. So usually one of the like non talked about the field in art direction is the UI element. So a good UI is a good flow with the overall. Yeah, I agree. So this is a dream blast flow. So a good game flow should be done by the art director communicating with the UI team or UI artist. And a good UI should be have the most simple flow and the most let's say user friendly flow. You don't do weird things with the screen's flow or anything. You just do the simplest, most prettiest, most easiest thing to understand and to comprehend. The more complicated thing that you want to do on your game, the more niche it will be. So let's talk about game genres. If your game genre is actually complicated, like let's say roguelike, or like similar to World of Warcraft. If the game UI is complicated, it gives it somewhat of a quality because it will show you a lot of status and a lot of information that you want to show to the player. It gives you a good feeling. But if it's let's say a hyper casual game, simple mobile game, or like an Angry Bird game, you don't want to overcomplicate it. It's just a simple mechanic and just to throw birds. So there's almost no UI there. So like knowing what game genre and what you want to do in your game is it will help you a lot in the long run. This is one of your jobs as an art director. Decide on the UI and what type of UI you want to build your game, and how the flow of that UI will be. Of course, you will be responsible for sketch and color palette. So here, an example of a sketch done, and how we used contrast colors to pop the thing that we want to agree on. You want to shift the focus on. So for example, here, if you can see, the most contrast area in this image is here, and this is the part where the actual level selector will be of that game. So if you want the player to focus on this area itself, you want to use the color in the best way that you shift his eye focus to this area using the contrast of that colors. So the more contrast you will have, the more focus it will have. For example, here is the contrast, like inside, like behind this tree, inside the bushes, the contrast is really low, and no one like trying to focus there or here, right? Or here or there, because the contrast is really low. So this is actually a bad place to put focus on. So they want you to not focus there, so they try to play with the contrast there, so you cannot look at that. But in the same time, you can see here is a good part of the contrast. It's not part of the level selector, right? Because there's an event here. When you step inside this, there's this pair, and this would be like a boss fight or something. So they want you to shift the biggest of your like eye focus to the middle of this image, whereas the biggest challenge you will have. So this is actually like understanding the art and the color palette and the color theory and everything related to color, the contrast, everything. When you understand that and you like experiment a lot with coloring your image or sketches, you will get used to this, and you can spot immediately where you want to use the high contrast or low contrast. This is a good example of, in my opinion, of how to use good color. Of course, while I'm talking about contrast, this is actually what is the contrast mean. For example, here's 4 different buttons, and you can see not all of them are good to read, right? So the best ones to read is these 2. Is the easiest one to read, the easiest to recognize, is the most noticeable one. But here is the hardest to read, but it's the only one that my eye shifted to it. But I don't feel good while looking at them, because these 2, the contrast is low. So the high contrast is good. Low contrast, that shift your eye. So I can do this, but I need to fix the text inside. If I fix the text inside, for example, this red, I fix the text to be white, it will be low contrast, but high readability. For example, here, this is a low contrast, but is good readability. Okay, so here a good low contrast, but good readability. But here is a bad readability. Sorry, it's a difficult word to say repeatedly. But yeah, so you get the hang of it. So when you have a good contrast with a good text that you read very well, you will shift your eye immediately to it, and it will feel good. But if you have low contrast with bad readability, it will be terrible on your eyes and it doesn't feel good. yes, this, for example, this one is really, really bad. And this is the actual like meaning of how to use high contrast or low contrast, right? Of course, there's another thing that I want to talk about colors is this. There's always like cold and warm colors. Like when I'm using colors, I usually look at the colors on a wheel like this. And the further that I go, this sketch on it, the further that I go toward the yellow is the warmest color that I will have. And the furthest I go to purple is the cooler color that I will have. For example, if I want to color, I think I will show you an example in a minute. If I want to color a thing that I want to add, for example, I have this shape and I want to give it a highlight in this area, I will go toward yellow. And this part, because it's a shadow, I want to go toward purple. So if I want to add another highlight here, like a spotlight here, and I want to be this a yellow, toward yellow more than this one, right? So let's go to, for an example here. I will show you. Let's see. This one, okay? Let's take this, let's take, which one? A good one. Let's see. Let's take this cactus. So, okay. So if I selected this green, the mid-tone green, okay, I see it on the color hue here. I will see this is actually close to yellow, right? In this area, almost. And if I want this to be darker, where should I go? Should I go toward the yellow or should I go toward the purple? Okay, let's go back and try this again. I will go toward, if I want this to be darker, I'm not only shifting it to the black, right? I want to shift it toward the purple a little bit, like I moved it here a little bit toward the purple and a black a little bit down. So this is the actually the darkest green from this, right? If you put them together, you see this is darker than this one, right? And if I want to make this is this one, sorry. If I want to highlight this one is like on a higher note than this color, I want to shift it toward yellow more and up a little bit. So this is how we can select colors warmer or colder, and you can color your graphics using this technique. This will give you much readable warmth color to warm and cold colors to your overall color of your game. Going back to Miro board. So yeah, just read these. Of course, I will leave this Miro board for everyone to view and maybe like go see it by yourself and read all about it or see everything inside this. Always color always can be improved. Always there's a way to improve the game. Like if you can see here, Clash of Clans once first started, it was on the left. It was like washed out colors. It wasn't contrasted very well, and every item is not readable enough to understand the environment itself, which is which, right? And they shifted toward the one on the right. Of course, there always will be players that they love the left more than the right, because the left is more darker tone, maybe mysterious. So if your game itself is that genre, is that type of game, of course you want to game that have washed out colors and darker tone than what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you want to be colorful, enjoyable, fun, with a mobile game or like a PC game. If you don't want that, of course it's okay. You just need to develop your color palette and you see what what colors do you have, or what's the feeling of the game you will have. So here is an example of how we can shift the focus again using the hue using the contrast as well with colors. One example of how you can use, if for example I like this image a lot, I see this image as a reference, I want to use it on my game, I can go pick up this image here, or maybe make a screenshot of a game that I really like and put it on. There's tons of color palette generator from an image. I put it inside that software and will give me indication what colors that is used in this little image, and I will use these colors to use it on my own game, maybe. And this is really powerful tool. You can, like, if you're not amazing and picking colors, of course, like for me, I can look at this image and I know what colors they using here. I don't need this like color palette picker, but for a developer or a small studio or maybe an indie who want to improve their own like game visual, don't understand how he can do that, there's a tool that you can just put an image there and you can generate the colors that you can use and maybe use them inside your game. So, so user experience, we talked about user experience before, like when you play test on the final version of your game, you're gonna play and test user experience. User experience, there's pillars for them, I personally feel. And the pillars of user experience is, it should be, the user experience is valuable, accessible, desirable, useful, usable, and findable, and credible. So if I want to explain this in a sentence for each one of these, I want to explain useful as everything that the player is experiencing inside inside your game. Like if he put pressing a button and maybe using navigation, the UI, or anything inside the graphics that you build, you want to make sure there's no extra information that he will not use or is not important at all for him, because this is not going to be useful. It's just going to confuse the player more. So if there's an information or like why you should put in the UI the version number in every screen is if it's not beta testing or like early testers, you don't need to do that in the final version, right? So this is actually of the thing that you want to make sure is the user experience is useful. Valuable is like something that actually the player will see it's valuable to him as well. It's not only usable, it's valuable. I need this information. I want this information, and it will help me, or it will. I will need it to improve or do certain things. For example, if I want to change the music of a game, or maybe lower the volume of the music inside the game. If there's no place to do that, it's not available to add music. Music icon, right? Or it's not good to not have that actually. So you need to make sure it's a valuable thing to always to have the user experience. Why should I go to settings? Is there's or sorry settings and audio? Then there's no indicator to lower the music value of the game I'm playing. This is it's not good practice to do that. If there's a tab for volume or audio, you should put that in. Accessible, yeah. For don't put a button that's disabled without a reason. If you want to give him indication of something coming up, just give it coming up or grayed out. But button is similar to any other button, but it's not working. This is actually frustrating for players. They will think their game is broken. You want to make sure everything is the feel right to the player. So please don't do that. Yeah, please do that. Make it valuable or accessible for the player, so they feel well while playing your game. Desirable. So yeah. So user experience usually when you build the UI or build anything related inside your game, you want the player to be motivated to get that. So if you have certain type of characters and different type of characters that you built, for example, the one just I showed you, the swords or characters, you want to make sure that the new characters or the new unlockables that he will unlock inside the game that you develop is actually desirable. It's not just random sword or knife. If it's that, it's not desirable. It's not looking good. It's not a thing that the user or the player will have a desire for. So he will not be motivated to play your game actually. Make sure you will have that. Usable, of course. If you have something, for example, you have equipment, and if I equipped a sword, if I unlocked the sword and I paid for that sword, and I did all my parts to get this sword, but I cannot equip it for some reason. It's not usable. So if it's not usable, again, we're going back to it's a bad feeling that player will have, and this will affect your game. Findable, yeah. So if you have amazing character but you hit it and no one will know where it is, and it's really difficult to get to it, if it's not part of your game, don't do it. Just add it somewhere that players will do fine, right? Same thing goes to the graphics of your game. If you made the best particle system, amazing tools, and if you're not using that to show the player when he unlocking new things, just use when he hit the button to unlock a new sword, if he's not finding this amazing graphics that you hit for some reason, only if he press it on 10 o'clock, this is actually bad behavior. You want to always be something that can be repeated, and every time he want to go through the same experience, he want to make sure he will have find that the thing that he desire the most. So as well, do that. Credible. Credible actually is something you need to make sure that you think ahead while you like doing while you're doing through your own like game. Like if you want to do character design that related to certain genre, and this character is not fit inside the game itself. Like if you did a sci-fi inside a role-playing medieval game, it's not a good thing to have, and it will break the immersions of your game, and it will not be credible to the game itself. It will be bad practice to have that. You need to immerse him with its own environment of that game. I want to open the discussion for any comments you guys have.
Hey guys, if anyone has questions, you can raise your hand if you'd like to ask it, or you can, I just read it out. Okay, so we have a question, which is, how do you know what style to go for? Such as stylized versus realistic.
Okay, so first of all, what type of game that you want to do? If you want to do first-person shooter, if you want to do first-person shooter, you want to know what audience, what type of platform that you want to be in. For example, if you want to be on PlayStation or Xbox and you want to be doing a first-person shooter, you can do a realistic one, right? Especially if you have like an amazing tech behind it or something that is improvement on what we already have in the market. But if you want to do a small scale FPS type of game, it's easier to go to stylized than realistic. Not easier on like how much actual work you'll put on, but I mean, it will look unique enough that it will differentiate you from the other games, right? But if you're trying to be a triple A without the actual like budget or actual skills to do that, you will come out as like cheap or not very good game, right? So you want to make sure your audience, what type of audience you want to attract, how much sales, what's the platform. Like if you want to use Switch as a platform and you want to do FPS, you can go through the similar style of Splatoon, right? But if you want to do on a PC, you can go through similar to DRG, like it's Deep Rock Galactica, something stylized. It have good mechanics, but it's not a triple A. It's just a small studio that they make their own style of games. Yeah, this is actually my advice on doing that. What type of stylized? Stylized is actually there's so many. The best thing I can give you advice for when you like trying to nail down what art style that you want, as I said, gather references. And I think I have an image here. No, I don't have an image. But yeah, we can go and like gather references for different type of game style. Maybe a couple of images from Pinterest or from ArtStation that fit really well and like inside your game, and put them in the same board, and you can start visualizing your game doing that. It will like give you a good idea what stylized you want to do. Yeah, so going through the last thing in this lecture, I want to tell you about the tools I use. There's, of course, a lot of practices. If every art director they use their own tools. and maybe this is different from an artist to another, but this is the tools that I use. So for the task management, I usually use GitHub or Trello. I used Monday, of course. I used a lot of different task management tools, but I prefer these the most. Is the easiest to use and the most organized ones of them all. If you don't understand what is task management tool, you're missing out a lot. Task management tool is a place that you can put like a text file, and this text files organized, maybe put the title for them, maybe add images to that file. It will organize what you need to be done, what you need to be done and what you need to be doing right now in the long run on a project, or maybe a sprint, or in a week, or like a month. There's a lot of accessibilities or things that you can organize inside this task management tools. Yeah, so yeah, once you have this task management, it will be amazing. Actually, this is a good topic to have, and I encourage everyone to like attend that. So for the design and actual doing work with like graphic work, I use Illustrator. I use Photoshop, Blender, Substance 3D. XMO is a tool, it's a website that animate characters for you for free. Figma is a website design for UI, and sometimes I do art inside it. I don't do illustrations, of course, but I do like building the game itself inside Figma. It's easier for developers if I'm working with outside developers or a freelance job, I will use Figma to give them the art using it. It's easier for them to understand how to position everything or how to scale everything, etc. XD is the same thing as Figma, but internally. So if I have something inside the office I want to build using that, I don't want to be online, I use XD. Game engines, of course, there's a lot of game engines out there. I'm not only work with these, but this is the most work I have done with using these engines: Unity, Cocos 2D, Godot, Construct 3, and GameMaker. These engines actually amazing, and of course there's Unreal Engine, but I never had the chance to work with it. But it will be a good experience to do a project inside Unreal Engine. So for references and like graphic inspiration, I always go to Pinterest and ArtStation. Pinterest to gather most of the images that I see. For improvement for my art skills, I go to ArtStation. ArtStation have the most complex of art there. Maybe illustration, graphics, or etc. There's a lot of things that you can find in ArtStation. I go there if I want to improve myself, and I go to Pinterest if I want to do quick search, and I get the idea immediately faster than ArtStation wants to. So yeah, this is the talk. I hope everyone enjoyed it, and if anyone want to ask me anything related to their game or art or graphic design, I'm more than happy to answer anything. Yeah, Figma is a lifesaver for programmers. I worked with a lot of developers. Figma is a really good tool. I can build a project using Figma. I can show you like this project I did for a company I worked with. I built everything inside Figma. You can, for example, if I want to add in another button from this one, I just like duplicate it and it will like resize everything. Everything will be in same order or exactly where I want it. Like because I built it using Figma, and once the developer come in to take this, he just like he can press on this image here and he can export it, preview this screen bar, for example. It's immediately gonna be exported for him. He can put it in the game engine and it's voila, it's done.
Actually, I have a question about this since we are on this Figma page. Do you ask your team to always draw everything, or do you ever like get packs of like art packs or something of the sort, and then use these instead of doing everything in-house?
It's depending on the studio I'm working with. Some studios that they ask you actually to do that. They ask you to like brutalize using ready assets or ready to like to buy and use assets because they want to just to develop the art visual really fast. Some studios, they don't want to do that. They want you to actually take your time, build everything that you want to be unique. You want to be, everything is owned by us, everything is done by us. We don't want to buy already assets. So it's depending on the art style of so not the art style, depending on the management or the production team that we like talk with. And as an art director, I don't mind having both ways, what I prefer, of course, doing my own art or my own like graphics funny game because in the long run it will give you a certain feeling for your studio. Like if you're building an IP for your studio and you want to have a visual feeling for your studio, it's much better to have your own graphics. You can always expand on that and maybe build your own library that you can use on another game or another prototype. But if you only buying from certain assets from the store, you're gonna always have that feeling. Oh, okay, I seen that building before, or I seen that character before, or I seen that prop or assets before, and this is actually it's like a plague now, spreading out among all small studios because they all using the same assets, and people starting to catch up with that and refusing to download any game have the same assets repeatedly used or overused. So if you're gonna use ready assets, of course it's okay to do that, but make sure it's not oversell. So if you buy a bundle for $1 that have like over 20,000 assets inside it, and it sells for like 10 million people, of course it will be in every small game, this assets, right? So you want to make sure not using that, maybe buy a bit more expensive one or unique one that fits more with your game. It will be much better on the long run.
Cool. All right. Thank you. All right, guys. Do you have any more questions? If you'd like to raise your hand to ask anything. We do have a question that someone usually asks, but I don't think they're here today. What's your favorite color?
Actually, I don't have favorite colors. I love all colors. If I can show you here, I don't know if it's visible.
It's a bit visible. but it seems a bit white.
Yeah, because I have tons of lighting around me, but this is like strip of all colors going through.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I love colors. I can put this in any color that I want, but I always love array of colors. I don't want to be, but if I want to pick one, yellow is my favorite. If I want, if like you force me, put a gun to my head, I will choose yellow.
Okay, that's awesome. Cool. All right, great. I think we're good with questions. I have a lot more to learn, and honestly, this was really fun. It gave, at least, talking about myself, it gave me a really good introduction on, how to think of art when it comes to the artist's perspective, not just the developer's perspective. I really enjoyed like seeing, everything that you've done so far, the kind of inspirations that you take from, and just basically how you move forward with your projects and all. So thank you, Mohamad, for this. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, guys.
Take care.
I will share the Miro with you. If you can put it inside
Yes.
the link of the lecture itself, it would be amazing. So everyone can give it a look, maybe like read more inside.
Definitely. All right, will do. Yallah.
Yeah. Yalla. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Goodbye and have amazing night.
Bye.
Bye bye.